Ladies and gentlemen, the members of the Assembly, dear friends, it's with thankfulness and humbleness that I received the invitation to speak a few words before your National Assembly today. For the first time in this place, a Canadian Prime Minister is speaking. A Canadian coming from a French carpenter from La Rochelle, who at the middle of the 17th century left his home, looking for a new life on a continent old time in the old days said as a new continent. The history of Étienne Trudeau is that of numerous Canadians who are also descendants of the first French arrivals who contributed to shape Canada. It is with great emotion that I'm speaking to you this afternoon in this place that is filled with the history and great debates that have marked France. My presence in this National Assembly not only testify of the importance that you're giving to our partnership, but a common will to deepen the links of friendship that are uniting our two peoples for centuries. Those who have come before us in our governments and parliaments have sent each other, have worked to make the world a better place. They have favored the development of our economies. They have worked to protect our workers. They made sure that everyone would have an access to education, to a performing health system, and to better opportunities. However, even if our citizens are in a better health, richer and more educated than ever, numerous are those who are worried about their future and that of their children. The anxiety is pernicious, and it is fed by a cost of living that is higher, where salaries are stuck at the same place and jobs are more precarious, by the gaps growing between rich and poor, by a middle class that is smaller and smaller, by the polarization of the political discourse, by feelings of unpossession and of weakness at home and abroad. In our countries, populism is spreading. Democracy is eroding. Symptoms of a malaise that is afflicting the world. Abroad, millions of people are on the road, risking their lives, looking for a better future. And we cannot be silent looking at the temperatures that are rising and a climate that is changing. We are forced to say that a change is not always synonym of progress. Confronted with the big changes of our days, the liberal democracies are carrying the responsibility of articulating a clear vision and convincing vision of the future to which they are aspiring, of the world that they hope to build. It is the mandate that our citizens have given us. Your invitation comes at an important time, a crucial time. France is thinking about its role within the European construction and in the world order, and I salute the commitment of the President of the Republic, underlined once again this morning in his speech before the European members of the European Parliament in Strasbourg. Canada, on our side, we're thinking about our place in a world that is in evolution, quickly. In a quick evolution. We're thinking about the state of our planet, our ability to to take care of the problems. The crisis of globalization, should it lead us to isolate ourselves, to turn to ourselves? Should Canada leave fear and worry and worriness and look to the future of our country and our children? In a time where political current is using or tabbling on the very real worry of the population, Canada has decided to fight this cynicism by being bold and ambitious, where other countries are defining by opposing. Canada is affirming itself. We declare ourselves as being for progressive trade, for diversity, for immigration, for the protection of environment, for in favor of the equality of the sexes, for the rule of right, the rule of law, for democracy, for equality, for freedom.
Comme l'avaient fait valoir les Lumières.
As the period of Les Lumières made it come and shine against ignorance, let's choose reason against obscurity. Let's choose science, debates, and progress. My words will be today on this approach, this positive approach, resolutely progressive, that we have chosen to adopt, and what it means for the world. By tracing the large lines of a renewed cooperation, I hope to be depicting the next chapter of the relationship that unites us, and thus send us forth together in a future that is even more promising and more prosperous. The inequalities that persist in our societies come and leave doubt settle and hostility of those against a world that is integrated. They are obstacles to our prosperity. In fact, we are all losers when our citizens are excluded, whether it is by their sexes, their origin, their sexual orientation, or their gender orientation. No country can hope to reach its full potential without the participation of every citizen, whoever they are, wherever they come from, whatever their beliefs. France and Canada have realized important progress at this place. We have both marked history by choosing a minister cabinet that has parity. And I noticed that in this assembly, we are close to parity. And on this,
Je remercie les hommes qui se sont levés.
And I thank the men who stood up for this as well. But on this question, I must say that at the Canadian Parliament, we still have much work to do. And it is up to us to work every day for the true equality of sexes at every level, in every area. neither France nor Canada or any of the 5 most advanced economies of the G7 can pretend to have changed or settle those inequalities. This is why the equality of sexes is the horizontal theme of the G7 summit that will be presided by Canada in the Charlevoix area in June. Whether it's in terms of economy, of jobs, of the environment, conclusions adopted by the members of the G7 should contribute to the true equality between men and women. Taking into being aware that the public policies do not affect men and women in the same way, we must examine each solution, taking into account the effects on one or the other, and the other. Through the terms of our chairmanship, we will look at how the gaps between revenues and the social inequalities, those inequalities that will be not only looking at the level or the living level of the middle class, but also world trade, world cooperation, and democracy. This explains our decision to set up the Consultative Council on Equality or Gender Equality based on the working with or chaired by Belinda Gates, the great philanthropist, and the Canadian ambassador to France, Isabelle Hudon, to include the integration of the equality of genders in the activities and results of Canada's chairmanship at the G7. The argument is simple. A greater participation of women in the workplace is unavoidable for the growth of our economies. And this particularly as the age average of the G7 countries is growing and the part of our active population is lowering. I'm happy also that France will succeed us at the G7 as a G7 chair, seeing that your president shared this wish to continue this fight next year. As I'm thinking about the future of Canada and the role, the positive and bold role that we want to play, I see at every chapter France at our side. Whether we're talking about progressive trade, inclusion, or the environment, whether it's within the G7, the United Nations, or the Francophonie organization, I see France as being a positive influence that our world is so needing. France says it is for the protection of the environment. It is displayed as a real leader across the world. Our two countries are thus united in their ambition to fight against climatic changes and growing our economies at the same time in a durable fashion. On both sides on the Atlantic, we are making unprecedented investment in clean technologies and green infrastructure, stimulating growth and create good jobs for the middle class. Whereas the countries across the world are looking to win market shares and try to find themselves a good place in tomorrow's economy, Canada and France should favor durable development to maintain a competitive position. In the first weeks of my government in 2015, we have taken part actively in the COP21. And I want to say and salute France for the impulsion that it has given to those negotiations and to remind the active role that played our Minister of the Environment and Climatic Change, Catherine McKenna, to bring the parties closer together in order to conclude the Paris Accord.